An alien trapped in a strange island asterisk. The crash no one saw. The sky was dark. Thick clouds moved fast over the wide ocean. Lightning flashed, and thunder growled like an angry beast. Above the earth, far beyond the clouds, a small alien scout ship flew silently. Inside was Tolar, a young alien explorer from the planet Virac 7. He was sent to observe Earth. His mission was simple: fly, scan, and return. No one was supposed to see him, but something went wrong. Tolar's ship shook suddenly. Bright red lights blinked across the control panel. A strange noise came from the engine, then smoke. The ship began to spin. Tolar grabbed the controls. No, not now. He tried to fix the problem, but nothing worked. The ship was falling fast. Outside the clouds, humans on Earth heard nothing. They didn't see the ship. But somewhere, in the middle of a forgotten island, a flash of light tore through the sky and disappeared into the jungle. The crash was silent. No cities nearby. No help coming. Tolar woke up in pain. His head was bleeding. One arm was bent wrong. Sparks flew from broken panels behind him. He unbuckled himself and crawled out of the ruined ship. The air smelled strange wet, full of life. Big trees surrounded him. Birds screamed above, and insects buzzed loudly. He touched a piece of his ship, still hot. The engine was gone. His communication system was destroyed. He was trapped alone. He sat on a rock and took a deep breath. His suit still worked. He pressed a button near his neck, and his skin glowed faint blue as the healing system started. He looked around. The jungle was thick and wild. The trees were tall, with black bark and red leaves. The ground was soft, muddy, and full of strange plants. Tolar had studied Earth, but this island didn't match anything in his data. Suddenly, he heard something. Laughter. A child's laughter. He stood quickly. Looked left, then right. The sound was gone. Only the wind moved now. Impossible. He whispered. No human settlements were near this area. It should be empty. He moved slowly, scanning the area with a small wrist device. No human life detected, but the sound came again. Soft giggles, like a young child playing. Then silence. As night fell, the jungle changed. The trees seemed to move slightly. Not from wind, but like they were breathing. Tolar made a small fire, using heat from his damaged ship. He sat close, watching shadows dance on the trees. He heard distant growls. Not animals he recognized. Something was out there, watching him. Hours passed. Tolar didn't sleep. Then just before midnight, he saw them eyes in the dark, glowing yellow. Far in the trees, he stood, raised his scanner. No signal. The eyes blinked. Then more eyes appeared. 4, 8, 12. Tolar stepped back. Who's there? He called. No answer. The eyes disappeared. Then, a whisper in the air. It said his name. Tolar. His blood ran cold. How did they know his name? He grabbed a tool from his belt and aimed it like a weapon. Nothing attacked. Nothing moved. But now he knew he wasn't alone on this island, and whatever was here already knew who he was. At sunrise, the jungle looked peaceful. Birds flew. The wind was gentle, but Tolar didn't relax. He remembered the voices, the eyes, the whisper. He started gathering parts from his ship. He had to build a signal beacon. Maybe, just maybe, someone from Virac 7 would come. But deep in the forest, behind the thick trees, something else had woken up. A shadow moved between vines. It watched Tolar from afar, and it was not happy, because the last time an alien came to this island, the world almost ended. Tolar woke up with dirt on his face and the sound of insects buzzing in his ears. The sun was up, but the island still felt dark, like something was hiding behind the trees, watching him. He stood slowly and looked around. His small fire had died during the night. The wreckage of his ship lay still, covered in vines that hadn't been there yesterday. Strange. He reached for his scanner again. The screen showed nothing, no humans, no creatures. But he had seen the eyes, heard the voice. And someone had whispered his name. Tolar didn't trust the scanner anymore. He started walking. The island was wide and full of strange things. The plants looked almost alive. Some trees had metal veins running through their trunks, like wires. A few leaves shimmered with energy, glowing slightly in the daylight. Not normal, Tolar muttered. He moved carefully. Every few minutes, he stopped and listened. No footsteps behind him, no voices. But the feeling never left. He was not alone. Then he saw it, a symbol carved into a stone near a tree. It was from his home world. He ran to it, touched it. It glowed. Faint green dot. This was impossible. No one from Varek 7 had been to Earth before him, had they? The symbol led to another. Then another. They formed a path, like someone or something wanted him to follow. Tolar hesitated. This felt like a trap. But curiosity was stronger than fear. He followed the path. Hours passed. The jungle grew thicker, darker. Birds stopped singing. The wind was silent. Then he reached a clearing. In the center was a metal door, half buried in dirt. Moss covered most of it, but Tolar could see the old alien markings. The door was not Earth-made. It belonged to his kind, or worse, to someone older. Tolar stepped forward. The ground felt warm. He placed his hand on the door. A spark jumped from the metal and hit his fingers. The door pulsed. Tolar's vision went white. He saw flashes. A human woman screaming, her arms covered in fire. An alien warrior falling to his knees. A dark tower rising. From the sea, then a face. A human woman with silver eyes and hair like smoke. She looked directly at him. She whispered, "He's here, at last." Then it was gone. Tolar dropped to his knees. His head ached. The door was silent again. He stood up slowly and looked around. Still no one. But now he knew. This island was not natural. It was not random. He was brought here on purpose. As he turned to leave, he noticed something strange in the dirt nearby. Footprints. Human sized. Fresh. He crouched down. Touch them. Not animals. Not hybrids. Real boots. Heavy. Someone else was here. He followed the tracks. They led toward the beach. And then he saw it. A small boat, stuck in the sand. The engine was still warm, and next to it, a man, tall, calm, holding a backpack and a strange device. The man didn't look surprised to see him. He just smiled and said, "Tolar, I was wondering when you'd show up." Tolar stepped back. "Who are you?" The man dropped the bag and walked closer. "My name is Dr. Nathan Griggs. I've been waiting for you." "How do you know my name?" Griggs smiled again, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. "I know more than your name. I know why you crashed, and I know what this island really is." Tolar didn't trust him, but he needed answers. "What is it then?" Tolar asked. Griggs looked at the jungle, a forgotten prison. "And now, it's waking up." Suddenly, the ground trembled. Birds flew into the sky, screaming. Trees bent unnaturally. From deep in the forest, a roar echoed. Not human. Not animal. Something old, something angry. Tolar looked at Griggs, but Griggs only said, "It's too late to leave. We have to go deeper." Tolar didn't move. "Why would I trust you?" Griggs reached into his bag and pulled out a small glowing object. It pulsed in the same pattern as the metal door from earlier. "Because I'm the only one who has this," he said, "and you're the only one who can use it." Tolar stared at the object. It looked like a key. A key for what? Before he could ask, the roar came again, closer this time. Whatever was waking up was coming. Tolar followed the strange human named Dr. Nathan Griggs through the jungle. The air was thick and hot. The plants around them seemed to move just a little when no one looked directly at them. Even the trees gave off a faint hum, like they were whispering in a forgotten language. Griggs moved calmly, like he'd been here before. He didn't ask questions. He didn't look afraid. That alone made Tolar nervous. "Why did you come here alone?" Tolar asked, keeping his eyes on the path. Griggs didn't answer right away. He simply stepped over a fallen tree and said, "Because no one else was brave or stupid enough to come." That wasn't enough for Tolar. "This island, it's not natural. It has alien tech, ruins, and creatures I've never seen." "Who told you about it?" Griggs smiled, still walking. "You're right. It's not natural. This island was created long ago by your kind." Tolar stopped. "My kind never told us anything about Earth. You're lying." Griggs turned to face him. "Am I? Then tell me, how do I know about the door you touched? The vision you saw? The woman with silver eyes?" Tolar's heart dropped. He had told no one about the vision. Griggs leaned closer. "She spoke to me." 2. They reached a wide-open space in the jungle. In the center was a large stone statue half buried, covered in vines. It looked like a warrior, but the face was strange. A mix between alien and human. Tolar stared at it. "What is this place?" "A memory," Griggs said, "of a war that never ended." He walked around the statue and began pulling gear from his backpack. He set up a small energy scanner. A green light blinked on. "The island is waking up," Griggs said quietly. "The creatures locked here, they're not just monsters. They were failed creations. Experiments between alien DNA and human biology. Long ago, your people tried to mix the two. It didn't go well." Tolar looked at the statue's broken face. "Why would they do that?" Griggs replied, "To make something stronger. Something that could survive any planet, any war. But they couldn't control them, so they hid them here, far away from the stars." Tolar shook his head. "That doesn't explain why you're here." Griggs smiled again, but this time it looked tired. "I came to see if the island is still sealed. To make sure nothing gets out. But your crash, it may have changed that." Suddenly the scanner beeped. Fast. Griggs looked at it. His eyes narrowed. "They found us." Tolar turned. In the shadows of the jungle, dark shapes moved low to the ground. Fast. Silent. Then one stepped into the light. It was about the size of a human, but its skin was black and hard like stone. Its eyes were yellow and glowing. Its fingers were long and sharp. It tilted its head at Tolar and clicked its mouth, like it remembered him. Then it screamed. Griggs threw a flash grenade. A bright white light exploded, and the creature shrieked and ran back into the trees. "We have to go," Griggs shouted. "There's more!" Tolar ran beside him, dodging branches and roots. Behind them, the forest howled with inhuman screams. Didn't stop until they reached a cave. Griggs slammed a metal door shut behind them and locked it with a magnetic seal. Silence. Only their breathing filled the air. Inside the cave, it was cold and smooth walls made of ancient alien alloy. Glowing lines ran through the stone. Tolar touched the wall. "This is Virex metal," Griggs nodded. "I told you. Your kind built this place, but they left something behind, something dangerous." He opened a small panel in the wall. Inside was a control pad in a glowing cube. "This," Griggs said, "is the power core that keeps the prison shut." It was hidden deep under the island, far from any satellite or human base. Tolar looked at it carefully. "And if it fails?" Griggs looked at him, serious now. "Then everything inside gets out." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Tolar asked, "Why did you wait for me?" Griggs sighed. "Because I can't touch the core. It was locked to alien DNA. Only you can stabilize it." Tolar's mind raced. He didn't trust this man. But the danger was real. The creatures were real, and the vision, the woman with silver eyes, had whispered that someone was coming. Maybe it was him, or maybe it was already too late. Deep inside the jungle, under the roots of ancient trees, something huge began to stir. It Eyes opened for the first time in centuries. And it remembered pain. It remembered war. And it remembered freedom. Tolar stood in the cave, staring at the glowing cube inside the wall. The light pulsed softly like a slow heartbeat. Dr. Griggs watched him from the corner, quiet and serious. "You said this core keeps the prison locked," Tolar said. Griggs nodded. "Yes, but it's weakening. Your ship's crash." It shook the ground. Something shifted. Tolar placed a hand on the wall. He could feel it energy deep under the island, like something alive was breathing beneath the soil. "What exactly is locked here?" he asked. Griggs looked down. "Not what, who?" Outside the cave, the jungle had changed. Trees were no longer still. Some had twisted into strange shapes, bending toward the cave as if listening. The wind was cold now, even though the sun still shined, and something was moving through the forest. Tolar and Griggs left the cave, moving carefully. The air was thick and quiet, no birds, no insects. Just silence. Suddenly, Tolar froze. Ahead of them, something crouched near a broken tree. It was a creature, unlike anything Tolar had seen. Its body was long and thin, with skin like dark glass. Its arms bent the wrong way. It had no mouth. Just eyes, round, glowing white, and too many of them. It didn't move. Tolar whispered, "Is it alive?" Griggs didn't answer. He slowly raised his scanner. The screen blinked red. "Hybrid," he said. "One of the early ones." The creature turned its head. It had no face, yet somehow it looked straight at Tolar. Then it stood up. It was tall, twice Tolar's height. Its back cracked loudly as it stretched. Then it took one slow step toward them. Tolar raised his tool like a weapon. "Don't shoot yet," Griggs said. "If we run, it will chase." "But it's coming," Tolar hissed. Griggs slowly stepped forward. "Let me try something." He pulled out the glowing cube from earlier, the same one that pulsed with the core's energy. The creature stopped walking. It tilted its head. Griggs held the cube higher. "They remember this," he said. "It controls them, or used to." The creature stared at the cube, frozen. Then it screamed a loud, terrible sound like metal grinding against bone and ran into the trees. Griggs quickly hid the cube. Tolar was breathing fast. "What was that?" Griggs looked at him calmly. "One of the failed soldiers. Long ago, your people mixed alien strength with human thinking. They wanted perfect warriors. Why mix with humans?" Tolar asked, shocked. "Because humans survive anything," Griggs replied. "Disease, war, pain. They don't break easy." They kept walking. As they moved deeper into the island, the plants became stranger. Some trees had eyes. Others bled when touched. Tolar whispered, "This place is cursed." Griggs shook his head. "No, it's forgotten. A secret no one was supposed to find." Tolar touched his wrist communicator. Still dead. He felt more trapped than ever. Then they reached a clearing. There, in the center, was a metal pod half buried in the ground. It was old, alien. Its surface was cracked open from the inside. Tolar stepped close. Griggs said, "That was a containment pod, one of the original prisons. Whatever was inside, it escaped." Suddenly, something moved behind them. They turned fast, and what they saw froze them both. It was another creature, but this one looked different. It stood like a human. Wore pieces of broken armor, but its skin was silver and smooth, its arms longer than normal. Its face was almost human. But its eyes were not. Its eyes were the same glowing white as the first creature, and it spoke. "You don't belong here," it said. Tolar stepped back. "You can talk?" The hybrid tilted its head. "I remember. Pain, fire, then silence. Now, I remember you." It pointed at Tolar. "You smell like them. Like the ones who built this prison." Tolar's voice shook. "I didn't make this place." The creature stepped forward slowly. "But you came, and now we wake." Griggs raised the cube again. The creature flinched but didn't run. It looked at the cube, then at Griggs. "You are human. Why do you carry that?" Griggs didn't speak. The hybrid's voice dropped low. "You were not sent here to stop us. You were sent to finish what they started." Tolar turned to Griggs. "What is he talking about?" Griggs stayed silent. Tolar stepped away from him. "Answer me." Griggs finally said, "I came to see if the island was truly dead. But if it's not, then maybe it's better to use what's left." "Use what?" But before he could reply, the hybrid screamed and leaped at them. Tolar and Griggs ran behind them. The creature crashed through trees, chasing them. They ran until their legs burned. Then they reached a narrow path between cliffs. Griggs threw down a device that exploded with blinding light. The hybrid shrieked and stopped. Tolar fell to his knees, gasping. Griggs looked down at him. "You still think I came here alone to help you?" Tolar sat in silence as the sun set behind the cliffs. His legs ached. His mind raced. Dr. Griggs stood nearby, calm as always, checking a small silver device that blinked softly. Tolar finally spoke, his voice cold. "You lied." Griggs didn't. "Look up. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. You said you came here to help, to keep the prison sealed." Griggs sighed. "That was true, until I saw the core still worked. Until I saw you." Tolar's hands clenched. "What are you trying to do?" Griggs finally looked at him. "I want to understand what your people really locked away here. And why? What if there's something more powerful down there? Something we can use?" Tolar stood up slowly. "This is not a science project. That creature could have killed us." Griggs smiled faintly, but it didn't. It spoke. It remembered. Tolar stepped away. He needed space, time to think. But there was no safe place here. Only one option. Go deeper into the island and search for real answers. The next morning, they traveled again, this time toward the base of the island's volcano. The air grew hotter. The ground cracked under their feet. Griggs said ancient ruins were near the lava springs. He believed the original builders, the ones who created the hybrids, left messages carved in stone. Clues. Tolar doubted him. But he needed to know the truth. The jungle thinned as they neared the volcanic region. Black rocks replaced green trees. Steam hissed from cracks in the ground. Then they found it. A wide cave, half buried in ash and heat. The walls were smooth metal. Symbols were burned across them. Alien symbols. From Virex-7. Inside, bones lay scattered across the floor. Hundreds of them. Some looked alien: long arms, extra ribs. Others were clearly human. Tolar's chest tightened. These were the test subjects. Griggs nodded. This was a lab. Tolar moved toward the back of the cave. There, on the wall, was a large circle filled with carvings. He reached out and touched the center. Suddenly, the wall glowed blue. Lines of light raced across the surface, and the symbols began to move. A deep voice echoed in the cave, not real sound, but a message in Tolar's mind. "We tried to create peace, a body that could survive any world, a mind that would not turn to war. But the minds broke, the bodies rebelled. They remembered fear before they remembered kindness. Only a human can free them. Only an alien can end them." Tolar staggered back. Griggs had heard it too. His face had turned pale. "They knew," Tolar whispered. "They knew one day someone like me would come. Someone like you." Griggs looked at him slowly. "That's why I'm here, isn't it? This was never random." Tolar stared at the bones. "No, this was a plan. A cruel, long-forgotten one. But someone still wanted it finished." As they turned to leave, Tolar noticed something under a broken machine. He pulled it out, a cracked helmet, still glowing faintly. Inside, a tiny message was carved. "Forgive us." Tolar felt cold. Griggs read the words, then turned and walked away. Outside the cave, the sky had turned dark. A low rumble shook the ground. Tolar looked up. Clouds were spinning above the volcano. Something's coming, he said. Griggs nodded. They're waking, and they're angry. That night, they camped near a cliff overlooking the jungle. In the distance, glowing shapes moved between trees, tall, fast, and many. Tolar couldn't sleep. He sat staring at the lava below, thinking of the message on the wall. Only a human can free them. Only an alien can end them, he whispered. Which one am I supposed to be? Suddenly, he heard movement behind him. He turned fast, but it wasn't Griggs. It was a hybrid child, small, thin, with silver skin and glowing eyes. It stared at Tolar. Not with hate, with sadness. Tolar didn't move. The child opened its mouth. Help us. Then it vanished into the dark. Griggs came running. What happened? Tolar pointed. There was a child, a hybrid. It spoke. Griggs looked into the trees, his jaw tight. They're learning. Remembering, feeling. Tolar looked at him. You still want to use them? Griggs didn't answer, but the silence said enough. At dawn, the volcano gave its first warning. A crack shot through the earth. Smoke poured from the summit. And from the jungle. A horn sounded. Not natural. Not animal. It was a call. Tolar and Griggs both stood, watching as the forest bent in the wind and figures began to appear. Not one, not 5. Dozens. The creatures that shouldn't exist had gathered, and they were no longer just hunting. They were marching. The ground cracked under their feet as the volcano grumbled louder. The jungle was no longer quiet. The creatures, dozens of hybrids, stood at the tree line. Like an army, Tolar gripped a plasma rod tightly in his hand. Dr. Griggs stood beside him, calm. Too calm. They're not attacking, Tolar said, voice low. Why? Griggs stared at the creatures. Because they're waiting. For what? Griggs didn't answer. He turned and began walking toward the old path again. We need to reach the core chamber, now. Tolar didn't trust him anymore. But something about the hybrids, how they moved together, how they stared without blinking, it was clear they were more than monsters. They were waking up, and something deep inside the island was calling to them. The path twisted downward toward a valley filled with mist. The air became colder. The plants here were dead. The trees were black, like they had been burned long ago. Tolar noticed ruins around them, towers of smooth alien metal, broken and fallen. Some were fused with earth stone, like they'd grown from the ground. Was this a city? He asked. Griggs replied, a prison, pretending to be a home. They finally reached a large circular platform in the middle of the valley, half buried in dirt and ash. It looked like a giant lid. Griggs stepped forward and placed the glowing cube from before into a small socket. The ground shook. With a slow, grinding sound, the platform opened like a door. Stairs led into darkness. They descended deep underground. The walls were made of the same Virex alloy Tolar had seen before, smooth, silver-blue metal that hummed with energy. Strange symbols flickered along the walls as they walked. It felt alive. At the bottom, they reached the core chamber. It was massive, circular, with a bright orb of light floating in the center, held by 3 curved pillars. It pulsed like a heart. The room glowed with a soft blue light. Tolar stepped closer. This is it, he whispered. The real power source. Griggs stood still behind him. Yes, and now it's yours. Tolar turned slowly. What do you mean? Griggs smiled, and then pulled a weapon. A small black device, human-made, sharp-edged. Step away from the core. Tolar's chest tightened. You lied again, Griggs nodded. I told you only an alien can access it. But once it's open, I don't need you anymore. Tolar stepped back. What are you planning? Griggs pointed the weapon at the orb. This core has the ability to control every hybrid on the island. Command them. Release them. You want to use them as weapons, Tolar said. Griggs didn't deny it. Earth is dying. our enemies grow stronger. But with this army, we can protect our future. Tolar shook his head. They aren't soldiers. They're living beings. Some are just children. Griggs's voice grew cold. Doesn't matter. Tolar raised his hand slowly. His wristband still had limited power. You don't have to do this. Griggs laughed bitterly. It was never your choice. He aimed the weapon at Tolar's chest, but then a loud bang echoed through the chamber. Tolar flinched. Griggs froze. The weapon in his hand dropped. A hybrid stood at the top of the stairs tall. Glowing eyes, covered in armor made from scrap. Metal. Smoke rose from a hole in its arm where a built-in cannon had just fired. Griggs looked up in shock. How did you? The hybrid stepped forward. Lies end here. More hybrids entered the chamber, slowly surrounding them. They didn't attack. They didn't speak. They watched. Tolar looked at them, then back at the core. What do we do now? He whispered. The lead hybrid walked beside him and placed one hand on the orb. We were made to follow, it said. But now we choose. A soft sound filled the chamber like a whisper of many voices. The orb pulsed once, then began to change. Its blue light turned golden. Symbols glowed across the walls. The room felt warmer. Alive. Connected. Tolar stepped close. The orb responded to him, light rising with each breath he took. Memories poured into his mind. He saw the first experiments. The pain, the betrayal. He saw the hybrid children crying in the dark, and he saw a message from long ago. A voice from the past. If they choose peace, let them live. If they choose war, bury this island beneath the sea. Tolar looked at the hybrids. They weren't attacking. They weren't monsters. They were asking for freedom. Griggs, now on his knees, laughed weakly. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. Tolar replied, You already regret everything. With a deep breath, Tolar touched the orb fully. Light exploded outward, warm, golden, calm. The ground shook. Not from fear, but release. Far above, the hybrids in the jungle stopped moving. They looked up at the sky, and they smiled. The island had changed. It was no longer a prison, but freedom had a cost. The volcano rumbled louder. The core was overheating. Tolar turned to the lead hybrid. If this thing explodes, it'll kill us all. The hybrid nodded. Then one of us must stay behind to finish the last task. Tolar looked at Griggs and made a choice. Smoke filled the core chamber. Alarms from long-dead machines echoed off the ancient walls. The glowing orb in the center pulsed wildly, no longer calm. It shook with unstable energy, hot, loud, dangerous. Tolar stepped back, shielding his face. The heat from the orb burned the air around them. Sparks shot out like lightning. The core was breaking apart. The hybrids looked at one another silently. Even the strongest of them, covered in scrap armor and glowing with power, seemed unsure. What's happening? Tolar shouted. The lead hybrid, standing beside him, stared at the orb with sad eyes. You set us free, it said softly. But the prison is falling apart. The core wasn't made to let go. It was made to control. And now it will destroy everything. Griggs, still wounded, sat on the floor. He coughed hard, then laughed bitterly. Well done, he rasped. You saved their hearts and doomed us all. Tolar ignored him. He turned to the hybrid leader. Can we stop it? The creature nodded slowly. Yes, but not from outside. Someone must stay inside the core chamber. Directly connect. Absorb the overload. One life for the island. The words hit hard. It would take a life to save the rest. Tolar looked at the hybrids, once monsters in his eyes, now broken souls just looking for peace. Some looked like warriors, some like children. All were afraid. I'll do it, Tolar said. Gasps filled the room. No, the lead hybrid replied. You are not one of us. You still have a home out there, a sky, a future. Tolar shook his head. I'm the reason the seal broke. My crash caused this. Griggs coughed again. Don't pretend this is noble. You just don't want to face your world after this mess. Tolar turned to him. You're wrong. I finally understand. He looked at the core, pulsing like a heart about to explode. I was sent here to watch Earth, but maybe the island was watching me. Suddenly, the hybrid child Tolar had seen before stepped out from behind a console. Its small eyes glowed. Dimly. I'll do it, the child said. No. Tolar stepped forward. You're just a kid. But I was made for this, the child whispered. That's why I was created, wasn't it? The lead hybrid stepped in. None of us were made for death. But we will choose it if it means the rest can live. Then he turned to Tolar. Let me go. Tolar's eyes burned. You'll die. The hybrid smiled. Better to die free than live as a prisoner. The chamber trembled. Walls cracked. Lava began seeping through vents in the floor. Time was gone. Tolar gave one last nod. The hybrid stepped forward and placed both hands on the orb. Light swallowed the room. Everyone turned away. The energy grew louder, screaming, humming, roaring. Then silence. Tolar opened his eyes. The orb was gone. The core chamber was dark, but peaceful. The hybrid's body had vanished. No ash, no bones. Just a faint glow left in the floor. Like a memory, Griggs was unconscious. Tolar lifted him over his shoulder and began the long climb out. Hours later, the sun rose over the island. The volcano no longer roared. The jungle stood still. The hybrids, those who survived, gathered at the cliff. Tolar stood among them. They were free. No longer monsters. No longer soldiers. Just people. Finally free to choose their path. One hybrid walked to Tolar and handed him a small piece of crystal. It glowed faint gold. A piece of the core, it said, to remember him. Tolar held the crystal tight. Then looked at the sky. A ship flew above the island. Rescue. Virex-7 had received the weak signal he sent days ago. They were coming. Tolar looked at the hybrids. Will you be okay? The leader nodded. We will build something new. Away from war. Away from pain. Tolar looked back one last time before boarding the ship. The island had changed him. He came as a watcher. He left as a protector. As the ship rose into the clouds, Tolar stared at the crystal in his hand. In its glow, he saw a memory. The hybrid leader smiling. The child whispering, help us. The island no longer felt cursed. It had become a grave for old sins and a garden for something new.